This is the Village of Peotone Board meeting for March 23rd, 2015. We begin by rising to say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Riker?
Here.
Mr. Hupkey?
Here.
Mr. Wicker?
Here.
Mr. Hack?
Here.
Mr. Callahan?
Here.
Mr. Forsythe?
Here.
Okay, let the record show that all trustees are present. We have an official quorum to conduct official business. First order of business to be decided is the approval or correction of the March 9, 2015 regular village board meeting minutes. We'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented, or correct them if you see it needed to correct them.
Motion. Second.
Motion by trustee Forsythe, seconded by trustee Hupkey to approve the minutes of March 9th, 2015 regular village board meeting as presented. Clerk, please call the roll.
Actually, it was trustee Hack.
Did it? Sorry about that.
Sorry.
For the motion?
For the initial motion, yes.
Correct, and I want to propose a correction.
Okay.
On the LGDF resolution, which was tabled, it was actually, I believe, trustee Forsythe that requested more time for research.
Yes,
Correct?
that's correct.
Okay.
I will make the correction.
So motion to approve the minutes as corrected. Everybody in agreement with that? Kevin?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now call them.
Mr. Hack?
Yes.
Mr. Hupkey?
Yes.
Mr. Riker?
Yes.
Mr. Wicker?
Yes.
Mr. Callahan?
Yes.
And Mr. Forsythe?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries, minutes approved as corrected. Next item is the bills for the month. Trustees, you have in your packet the payroll for the pay period ending March 14 of 2015 in the amount of $44,428.09. You also have bills from the general fund totaling $32,621.87, and bills from the water and sewer fund totaling $23,165.19. Total for general fund and water and sewer funds is $55,787.06. I'll entertain a motion to pay the bills as presented.
I have a question first.
Sure.
This bill for 8912 for Chicago Salt Company, is that the last one? Have we reached our
Probably.
100% of the
I meant
contract?
to ask Bob about that, but he said we were getting close to the end of our contract.
Okay.
But I just can't say for sure.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing that, I'll entertain the motion to approve, pay the bills as presented.
I make a motion to pay the bills.
I'll second.
Motion by trustee Wicker, second by trustee Reichert to pay the bills as presented. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Wicker? Mr. Riker?
Yes.
Mr. Hupkey?
Yes.
Mr. Hack?
Yes.
Mr. Callahan?
Yes.
And Mr. Forsythe?
Yes, sir.
Motion carries and the bills paid as presented in the packet. Come to the public comment and or questions for any non-agenda item. In other words, if you're here for something that we're going to talk about on the agenda, just wait until then. Do we have any non-agenda items? Hearing none, I will move on. Reports of committees, officials and staff. The clerk collector report and treasurer report are part of your packet. Trustees, if there are no questions on that, I will move forward to the next item.
I just wanted to point out again, the police pension fund expenditures exceeded revenues. Please keep an eye on it.
Okay.
And that, at least for the balance of the year, will probably continue because we had a non-work related disability that was not included in the budget, so.
Okay.
Okay. Police chief report. Chief?
Nothing at this time, sir.
Nothing at this time. Engineers report, any updates?
Nothing at this time either.
Okay. What I'm going to do now on the agenda, we've got old business, and we have some people waiting here in order to get approval for things coming up. So what I'm gonna do is move down to the new business and go through items A through D, then come back and do old business, and then finish the rest of the items. That's okay. All right, the community garage sale is June 13th, 2015. Chamber's request as usual. You have it in your packet, and let's get to that sheet. George, do you got it? Do you have it in front of you? Okay. Chamber is officially requesting June 13th to hold a community garage sale, and it will be all the usual, as we've done in the past that the Chamber has sponsored. So is there a motion to?
Motion. Second.
Okay, motion by trustee Forsythe, seconded by trustee Hack, to approve the request of the Chamber of Commerce to set the garage sale date, village garage sale date is June 13, 2015. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Forsythe?
Yes.
Mr. Hack?
Yes.
Mr. Callahan?
Yes.
Mr. Reichert?
Yes.
Mr. Hupkey?
Yes.
Mr. Wicker?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries, and the garage sale, the community garage sale is approved. Request to conduct dollar days for the relay in Peotone on Saturday, May 2nd. Come on up to the microphone and
I'll just run
identify
through-
yourself.
Okay, I'll run through all three of them. My name is Myra Kosis, and I am the staff partner for the Relay for Life of Peotone Beecher Moni. And I have with me this evening Kathy Lindemann, who is a committee member. I guess she knows a lot of you, and she's a lifelong resident of Peotone, so she's joined me this evening. And so this year is our 12th year for Relay in Peotone. And our event's scheduled to be held on July 24th from 6:30 p.m. till midnight. So those of you who may have participated in the past knew that we went all night long. This year we are closing up at midnight. Yeah, that's good, so we can all go home and get a good night's sleep. Relay for Life is the signature fundraising event of the American Cancer Society, and we are gold this year to raise $38,000 to support research, education, and patient services. And it's also our opportunity to celebrate survivors at a special dinner beginning at 5 p.m. And additionally, we celebrate survivors and remember those lost to the disease during our luminaria ceremony at 9 p.m. I've given each of you a flyer with information about our event, as well as a patient services card with our 1-800 number on it. And I just wanted to share that with you because that's a number that patients and families and friends can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, year-round, in case they have any questions or need information or some emotional support. So we would like to request a few things that are on your agenda. The first one being the dollar days for Relay on Saturday, May 2nd. And we would seek individual approval from local businesses, stand outside their entrance, and share information about Relay and ask for donations. Last year, businesses that participated were First Midwest Bank, Burkhardt, Shell Gas Station, Casey's, Phillips Gas Station, and First Community Bank. And our plan is to ask for their support again this year. We're also asking for a special event permit and an amplifier permit for July 24th for our Relay for Life event, and to paint the town purple the week of July 5th. So, as always, we want to thank you for your support, and I invite you all to join us and form a team and come out on July 24th. Thank you.
All right, trustees, any questions? All right, I'm going to take them in the order that they are on the agenda. The request for Saturday, May 2nd, 2015, to be dollars for Relay in Peotone at the businesses listed or others that might agree to it. Is there a motion to approve that request for dollars for Relay on May 2nd?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Wicker, seconded by trustee Reichert. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Wicker?
Yes.
Mr. Reichert?
Yes.
Mr. Hupkey?
Yes.
Mr. Forsythe?
Yes.
Mr. Callahan?
Yes.
Mr. Hack?
Yes.
Motion carries, and that is approved. Next item for approval is to request to conduct the Paint the Town Purple the week of July 5th, the week of, for the Relay for Life.
Motion. Second.
Okay, motion by trustee Hupkey, seconded by trustee Wicker, to approve the Paint the Town Purple the week of July 5th. And I assume that stays up until after the,
Correct.
yeah. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Hupkey?
Yes.
Mr. Wicker?
Yes.
Mr. Heck?
Yes.
Mr. Callahan?
Yes.
Mr. Forsythe?
Yes.
And Mr. Riker?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries, and the special event permit and amplifier permit for the event itself, which is July 4th, 2015, from 4 p.m. till midnight.
The 24th.
July 24th, Mayor.
Didn't I say July?
No.
Yeah, it's 24th.
24th.
Okay, I didn't hear myself then. I'm sorry. All right. Is there a motion to?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Wicker, seconded by trustee Hack to approve the special event and amplifier permits for July 24th. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Wicker?
Yes.
Mr. Hack?
Yes.
Mr. Callahan?
Yes.
Mr. Forsythe?
Yes.
Mr. Riker?
Yes.
Mr. Hupkey?
Yes.
Motion carries, that is also approved. So,
Thank you.
ladies, you're officially done. If you want to leave, you can leave.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your support.
We'll be there.
Good. I hope with the team.
All right. Now we're going to go back up to old business. Item A, the resolution urging the governor and the General Assembly to protect full funding of local distributive fund revenues. Trustees, we tabled it off the last agenda, and I had some comments that I shared with you all during the committee of the whole meeting prior to this, in order to move things along. So, again, it's, this has been requested by actually, three groups that we belong to: the Illinois Municipal League, the Will County Governmental League, and South Suburban Mayors and Managers have all basically jumped on the bandwagon for this one. So, it's up to you if you would like to pass this. This would be resolution 14-R14. Urging the Governor and General Assembly to protect full funding of local distributive fund revenues.
Make a motion, we pass the resolution.
I second it.
Motion by trustee Hupkey, seconded by trustee Wicker, to approve resolution 14-R14, urging the Governor and General Assembly to protect full funding of the local government distributive fund revenues. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Hupkey?
Yes.
Mr. Wicker?
Yes.
Mr. Hack?
Yes.
Mr. Callahan?
Yes.
Mr. Riker?
Yes.
Mr. Forsythe?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries, and we're on record as supporting that. The discussion on the temporary moratorium of developers fees. We had done some additional research, I think, since the last time. George, you want to go through that?
I was directed to have another conversation with the Village of Manhattan for additional details in their rebate program. Manhattan is a home rule community. They do collect fees for other agencies and rebate the fees back to the agencies at periodic intervals. Fees were paid at the time of certificate of occupancy. Rebates were issued to the buyer or title company at the time of closing. If the occupancy was issued within a short time of closing, there was some concern about the checks claimed. Manhattan ended the rebate program in 2011. Due to changes in mortgage regulations in the interim, some elements of the program might require modification if they were to be adopted. The village attorney has provided an overview of some legal topics. Basically, in summary, being a non-home rule community, we are limited in what some of our options are.
Yes, that's correct. And I made some notes there, and I'll just boil it down simply. Obviously, we can just put a moratorium on and say, okay, we're not going to charge the fees. Essentially, we're going to not collect them. And we can do that to all of the fees, some of the fees, and we can do it with, I suppose, some condition or another we might put on it. We cannot set up a grant program where we simply collect the fees and then give the fees back to the buyer at a closing. That, in our judgment, does not work for a number of reasons. One, we're collecting the impact fees on the theory that there is an impact, and that's the only thing that justifies the fees. To just collect the fees from the developer and give them back to the buyer goes against the idea that there's an impact in the beginning that justifies the fees. There's that problem. But more importantly, just giving the money back from our side of it is, okay, if we collect it and give it back to the buyer, we've got to account for it. Do we have to issue 1099s? Is it income? When it comes back to the buyers, how are they gonna, take it in terms of the, the closing document? So we just believe that's way too complicated. What we do think we can do is essentially what I call amend the annexation agreements by saying when the developer builder comes in to get the permit, we can say we will waive the fees or a portion of them and not collect them. And you have to commit to us with some form of certification that you will credit the buyer with these funds in one fashion or another at the time they purchase the home, either a reduction of the purchase price, and as they said, it could be add-ons, it could be whatever else. But I think if we just simply require the certification that they will do that, we could, require them to announce it or some such thing as that to get some publicity for it perhaps, but that would then be an alteration of the contract, because the annexation agreement is really a contract between us and the developer. In that agreement, developer is committed contractually to pay the fees. So we are sort of amending the agreement by saying if you come in, we will not charge you for those fees, provided that you give those fees back as a credit to the purchaser and do whatever else we might want them to do. I think that's the best we can do, or just a simple moratorium. I looked at New Lenox. They have done, again this year, just a 50% reduction. In other words, they have a resolution that says we're going to reduce for the year 2015 from date to date. Anybody that buys within that time, we're going to reduce our impact fees by 50%. And they just do it that way. In other words, when the builder comes in, they just pay 50% less, and they leave it to the builder to pass it on to thing. I noticed in a couple they made it. They made these rebate waiver specific to certain subdivisions. In other words, they said, okay, we're going to reduce the fees for subdivision A, B, C, D, E. Apparently, I could see those must be the ones that were having trouble developing. But I would suggest we either do a moratorium of all or a portion, or we do a resolution saying that we will waive our fees. We can't do that with the schools and the libraries because they're going directly to them. That would have to be a moratorium. We couldn't do a pass-through with them because those fees are being paid to the school, not to us. So if we were going to try to do something there, I think we have more of a problem. I'd try to stick with ours.
No, if the school, library, whoever it may be, pass their own resolution.
If they pass a resolution that authorizes us to do it, I'd be okay with that too, if they would do it. George mentioned he talked to them and they said they were okay with it, but I'd rather see it in at least a motion, passed by the board. If we're going to do it that way, in other words, if we're going to take, you have the amounts there somewhere, but if we're going to take,
It's 2,100, 850, 100.
Yeah, we've got 7,500 of our own that are at play here, and then the library is, $100, and the school is the on 21-100. If they would authorize that we not collect for a certain period of time pursuant to our resolution and allow the buyer to credit. I think, Wade had mentioned something about, well, how do we check it? I don't think there's a real good effective way other than what I would do would be to require the certification of the developer. Right now, he pays at building permit time, correct, George? Building
Yes.
permit, yeah. So when he comes in, building permit time, and we let them know, we say, okay, we're gonna waive the fee, or a portion of it, however you wanna do it, of X amount. But in order to receive that waiver, this is a contract modification now, because we have the contract, which is actually the annexation agreement. So a little signed paper, we will do it. You have to certify to us that you will pass that on to, to the buyer and give us a certification to that effect. And I think that's probably the best we can do in policing.
Well, let's clarify a couple of nouns here if we can. Many times, the people coming for the building permit are either the potential homeowner or a builder, a contractor, not the developer of the subdivision. So if we have to have the developer of the subdivision sign off on this agreement, that may be difficult to do because I know at least one of them is out of business.
Yes, however, the owners of the lots are taking subject to
Okay.
the annexation agreement. So
Okay.
I'm okay with doing it that way. It would be much cleaner, and we talked about this too, it would be much cleaner to have a nice little amendment to our annexation agreements. Then it could just be done by developer, and it would apply to everybody within that, anybody within that subdivision. But I recognize that, George, I was thinking about that myself. Now, you've got
Okay.
individual lots. However, those lots are all subject to the provisions of that annexation agreement. And the annexation agreement is saying that these fees are going to be collected, okay, and what their purpose is. So actually what we're doing is amending a contract, all right? And I believe that we can do it that way. If an owner comes in,
And that was another thing
they're building it themselves.
Yeah,
So-
Well, they
the
may,
house-
they may have a
He
general
generals the
amount.
house himself. He's got to
Right.
general the house
Yeah,
himself.
that's okay. I mean,
So
if
he's a
you, if
contractor.
we believe that, that encourages the building of that house, fine. That can be done that way too.
I'd like to make a couple of points. I'd like to see this done for this building season, obviously. So in order to do that, I think it needs to be done in a way where it's simple, less restrictive, less components to it, as you were saying.
Yeah.
I don't want to speak for the library, the school, and the park district. It's my opinion that I would like to see a moratorium on building fees or impact fees for our agency holding. $7,571 is still a big discount giving to these builders. I just don't want to take any. I mean, I know we don't have very many houses being built, 1 or 2 a year. But both the school, the park, and the library, I'm assuming, could use every dollar they get.
When you use the word moratorium, are you referring to us just not accepting fees at all, or the certification process?
Not accepting fees at all. And my thought behind that is, we've talked about before about doing a 2-year, we revisit this in 2 years and extend it. It's the free enterprise. If the builder's gonna move the house as fast as the builder can move the house, he's not gonna sit on that house for any length of time. He wants his money. So to say that he's not gonna give the buyer a discount because he's receiving a discount, I just don't think that's gonna be an issue. And if we're building 30 or 40 houses a year and it becomes an issue, then we can revisit it. We've given ourselves the ability to do that. But at this time, to make it really simple, just a flat-out moratorium on our fees only is what I'd be okay with.
George, you said you spoke with the other entities?
I spoke to Mr. Stein, I spoke to Noreen Gourmet at the library. I did not have a chance to speak to anybody.
And what was their response?
They felt that they would get, in their return on getting continual property taxes would make up for the loss of the development fee.
As opposed to getting the taxes of a vacant lot.
I mean, I could.
And I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, I'm sorry.
These are not new 300-unit subdivisions. They would not anticipate getting, 40 building permits a year that they're losing. That's something that could be revisited if that happened. That's not been typically the character of these in other communities.
The only one that I question on here that they're really hurting is the Parkside ordinance fee that might be the one that,
It's a one-time fee, though. I think it's a valid argument if we talk to them. As soon as somebody moves in, they go on a tax roll.
The fees are for for acquiring future sites,
Yeah.
isn't it? Isn't that the
Yes.
specifics?
Yeah.
That's the only thing the money can be used for.
To get things moving, I'd like to see a certification process on our fees alone, so that the developer, the owner, whoever has to sign off on the certification, that credit will be given to the buyer. We can limit it to get things moving to our fees alone at this point, and if the other entities do eventually vote in favor of it, we can then, through another resolution, expand this to extend into the other entities' portion as well. That's how I'd like to see it go forward.
you're already saying that the other two entities are already on board with this.
Well, their staff is, Noreen, the director, and they've both said that, and Mr. Stein, they've both said that they didn't have any, that their representatives didn't have any particular problems with it. Now, do I know that they've done that in a formal public meeting in form of a resolution? No, I doubt that they have.
Well, then, we need
Yeah, I
to,
mean,
we
that'd
need
be
to
like-
get this onto an action item as soon as possible. We need to, then,
We can't act on it today, but we can act on it the next meeting. So it is the intention of the board to move forward with this. For the next meeting, we'll come up with an ordinance that, or whatever we have to call it, that in effect takes the development fees normally charged by the village and places a moratorium on that. Are we specifying for a period of time or a number of permits?
I'm not a developer. 2 years sounds good to me. I mean, we had our developer in here, and he said that putting a time limit on it is not reasonable. But to say that we're gonna,
Okay, let's take it one step further. Let's say for 2 years, we'll come up with the wording that makes, the timing of that makes sense, with an annual review and a review at the end of that time period, like reviews in December, okay, of each of those years, that would permit us to either extend or let everybody know it's gonna drop. All right?
Yeah.
All right?
Okay, so that would be 2 years from the current date within which a building permit has to be issued, correct?
not built, issued, right?
Yeah, building
Issued,
permit
right.
Issued, yes.
Which means they've gotten everything they need to start construction.
They've issued a valid building permit.
Permit.
Do we want to say 2 years or a certain number of permits, whichever happens first?
If we take an annual review, we can make that decision on an
Okay.
annual
Got
basis.
150 lots, and
It's not gonna happen.
I know.
The likelihood
And if it does-
of what we're gonna get out of this is, I think if we get 10 a year, we're gonna be doing a lot at the current rate that things are going. So, but again, the whole intention behind this is to prime the pump, to get construction started again, to get the income going to all of the taxing bodies, so that their resources are better for serving the people that we currently have.
George, when Manhattan ended this in 2011, did they feel that it helped stimulate the housing?
Yes, they did. It did not exorbitantly increase the number of building permits. And again, Manhattan is a little bit of an outlier because they had hundreds of vacant lots that they were trying to get homes built on. And I didn't really get a firm answer as to why they discontinued the program. I know one of the things is that one of the rationales was that they had a developer who was able to purchase several hundred lots for basically 5 cents on the dollar. And that gave him enough of an impetus to make some things happen. That's what I've been told, so. And approximately 25 cents on the dollar. But I was not given any reasons for why they discontinued the program.
Okay, that being the case, we will put this together in some legal form.
And you want the certification process in there?
Yeah.
If the property is privately owned and the owner is building his own house, can sign that and waive that?
Yeah, the owner would do it.
This is basically a set of fees that anybody who builds is going to have to pay on that lot. So we're just waiving that part of it. All right, and we, we're moving forward with that, and if we get notice from the other entities that they would be willing to waive theirs officially, we can add them to it as we go along.
That would be easy enough to do.
All right, I think we've gotten that topic taken care of. I'm gonna get back down on the agenda. We go to item E, an ordinance prohibiting parking on both sides of West Street between Peotone, Wilmington Road and Corning Avenue. Long and short of this is we had a question raised about the parking on West Street between, I think it was between Garfield and the park. And then what we did do is we took a look at the narrowness of the road from Corning, West Street, as you go from Corning to Peotone Wilmington Road. And it really, because for safety reasons, parking in that stretch of Second Street or West Street rather, is not safe. And so we tried to look at the simplest solution to that, which in essence is to take the ordinance that we already have, which is kind of piecemeal, and change it to the wording that we've got here. So that it would be 72-01 ordinance C. It shall be unlawful to park any vehicle on the following streets in the village at any time on each and every day of the week. No parking on both sides of West Street from Joliet Road to Crawford. That exists. No parking east side of West Street from the intersection of West Street and Corning Avenue to a point 175 feet north of the post office. That would stay the same. It shall be unlawful to park any vehicle on the west side of West Street between Crawford Avenue and Corning Avenue from 9 a.m. till noon on Sundays. That will stay the same. And the part that's changing, it will be unlawful to parallel park on either side of West Street between, no.
It's the existing language.
Oh, right. I thought that was a change language when I started
that's the
reading it.
existing.
Okay. So our ordinance would basically say, take from West Street, from Corning Avenue to Wilmington Road, and prohibit parking on both sides of the street. Okay, is that what that says then?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, the text to be added would be no parking on both sides of West Street between Corning Avenue and Wilmington Peotone Road. and that can be
Is
changed.
that gonna affect the fairgrounds?
That's what I was just gonna say.
With, it's no parking for the fairgrounds anyhow.
But no, I'm saying, right alongside their building, you got that, well, if they've got an activity, you got people parking there.
There's a little parking area
Yeah,
just,
where they park, they
I
park.
I think that's construed as a parking lot.
Yes.
I'm just saying, does that have an effect on that?
Right.
Because
Well, it's like where the caterer parks.
the caterer parks
Yeah.
and a few
Yeah,
other.
that's their property.
That's, I think.
I
what
just
you're
wanna know if that's gonna affect
Yeah.
them.
No.
Okay.
No, and actually, I don't think we've ever seen this problem, at least I haven't seen this problem until that tenant came into the house on West, and I went down that street the next day, and they were parking on the side of West Street.
And well, it's one of those things where most people don't park there because.
It
it's-
becomes a one-lane road. once you do that.
Yeah, and I think people just by nature just didn't do it. But then again, it's not illegal to do it, so therefore we're kind of changing that. So this would be ordinance 14-24. Amending Chapter 72 of Title 7 of the Code of Peotone regarding parking regulations with the changes that we mentioned. Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, motion by trustee Forsythe, second by trustee Wicker. I'm sorry, senior moment here. To approve ordinance 14-24 prohibiting parking on both sides of the street. West Street between Peotone, Wilmington Road, and Corning Avenue. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Forsythe?
Yes.
Mr. Wicker?
Yes.
Mr. Hupkey?
Yes.
Mr. Riker?
Yes.
Mr. Hack?
Yes.
Mr. Callahan?
yes.
Okay.
Before we
Motion
move on-
carries.
Mayor, before we move on, Chief, is it possible that we can break that in gently to anyone who may be parking there to let them know that it's not,
No signs are gonna be put up.
I know the signs will be put up, but even still, that may not be immediately noticed.
Well, I don't, you know, I know they read the signs, because we're really, you know, we'll be gentle.
It's just that if you've grown accustomed to parking somewhere and then a sign comes up one day, you might miss it that night and then have a
Usually,
$100
like I
ticket.
said, it's really not a park along the road. During the fair, it's no parking because we have signs up anyway along that whole road. And then by the fairgrounds and by the front of the park is no parking. And it's just that stretch between Blue Devil Drive and Corning. But, you know, we can talk to people. We'll be nice unless they make us not be nice.
That's what I mean. Okay, thank you.
All right, last item on the agenda in terms of action has to do with the accepting the resignation of the code enforcement officer. George, you want to do that?
Mr. Michael Chrisawati, the village code enforcement officer, has submitted his resignation effective March 31st, 2015. For bookkeeping and audit purposes, the board should make a motion to accept the resignation effective March 31st, 2015.
And as noted, Mr. Chrisawati is moving, or has moved.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by trustee Forsythe, seconded by trustee Huckabee to accept the resignation of Michael Chrisawati effective March 31st, 2015. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Forsythe?
Yes.
Mr. Hupkey?
Yes.
Mr. Riker? Mr. Riker?
Yes.
Mr. Hack?
Yes.
Mr. Callahan?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Moving on the agenda to correspondence, a couple of things. First of all, a reminder that the village brush pickup begins Monday, April 6th. And I've been asked to announce a meeting coming up relative to the Southwest Coalition for Substance Abuse Issues. On Friday, April 10th, from 8 a.m. till noon, in Romeoville. It's formerly the Romeoville Athletic and Event Center. It's now known as the Everett Hospital Athletic and Event Center. There will be a workshop symposium relative to health issues with the drug addiction. And featured speakers include people from the Illinois Heroin Task Force and Representative Sam Yingling, the Illinois Young Adult Heroin Task Force. Larry Walsh will talk about the HELPS Naloxone, I can't say it, NALOXONE initiative. And Jim Glasgow will be talking about drug mental health in the Veterans Courts. As I said, this is sponsored by the Southwest Coalition for Substance Abuse and Will County Helps, the Village of Romeoville, and Aurora University. And we've been asked to make that announcement, and we will have this posted up in the Village Hall so people will be aware of it. That's it. Anything new?
No. Water bills will be mailed at the end of the month.
Okay.
That's all we've got going.
Early voting.
Oh, yes,
Oh,
early
going
voting
on,
started
thank you.
today.
Here.
Yes, Monday through Thursday, this week and next week.
Yes.
I want to bring up the Peotone Wilmington Road thing again that I brought up a couple meetings ago. I just basically want to see how the other trustees feel about it and what we found out about it for the, like doing a jurisdictional transfer so we can get some development along there.
I've said it before, I agree with that.
What have we found out, George? Is it
Well, I know
possible?
that Robinson has been talking to IDOT. A jurisdictional transfer is possible. That does not necessarily remove, that's what we're trying to find out. It does not necessarily remove the egress and ingress restrictions that are there. That may be a function of federal guidelines. Troy, would you like to speak to that?
What we found out is the SRA designation, IDOT can't really enforce it. It's up to the village really to enforce the right-of-way requirements and their guidelines for access. So it's kind of cloudy, but we could request that the SRA designation be removed altogether, and might be able to get support from the Will County Department of Transportation to, go along with that.
What's the benefit of leaving it an SRA road?
Well, it doesn't seem like there's much right now, because if the Ileana's coming through and it's, prohibiting your development with all the guidelines, I don't think there's much of a benefit, because if as long as it stays the FAU route, you can still get funding to do the projects on it.
So there's two designations that are impacting here. One is the SRA, that's the correct one, which is on egress access.
Yeah, the SRA has stricter guidelines for.
Okay,
how much.
but is there any funding connected with that?
No, I don't think funding is correct, connected to that.
So,
It's also a federal aid route.
Right.
That's what the funding is connected to.
right,
Yeah.
and that will remain on there.
We would have to make sure that remains. We have heard one other time where it kind of went away when they did a jurisdictional transfer, but that'd be something we'd have to ensure stays.
Is that the 80/20?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's the 80/20 STP funding kind of thing.
that allows us to,
If removing
Do a
the
lot of
SRA restriction helps us with development on Wilmington Road, I think it's something we seriously need to look into, especially if we keep our funding through the 80/20.
That's the main job. You gotta
Yes.
make sure we keep our funding before you.
yeah.
And just the other thing is just all the, additional costs for maintenance, obviously.
Bingo.
that you
We
gotta
would-
come up with.
We'd be responsible for all of the maintenance, for all the snow plowing, for all of the
fixing the holes.
fixing the
But-
potholes,
but if we
line
could-
making.
Drainage.
Yeah.
But if we can never build there, it's,
But are we simply able to remove the SRA restriction that easy, or
We're not 100% sure. It
So-
sounds like something we'd have to
is
try
it,
to send a letter to them and.
is it possible as a plan B that we as a village could have a moratorium on enforcement?
as you were saying.
Enforcement of what?
Well,
Yes, sir.
Troy had mentioned that it really is not an IDOT
What it
I got
says-
prescription for enforcement, it's more of a village requirement to
Yeah,
enforce?
It looked like at one time they were going to mandate it, but it was never done. So that's the way it seems right now, that it's just the enforcement's relied on the local agencies.
So is there potential that it could remain an SRA, but we simply don't enforce the requirements of it?
Probably.
Okay,
Yeah, what's
maybe
the-
something to
what's
look
the
How
at.
the
That's something
builders
you wanna-
build. The builders they're not going to invest if there's restrictions there that they see are existing. Because even though you say we won't enforce it, that could change at any time.
You're talking about the guarantees here.
The other option was to petition IDOT to relax the guidelines on a location-by-location basis. If you want to kind of go by the book and at least run it by IDOT.
Now, the negative side of that is it's time-consuming, there's no guaranteed outcome.
We've seen how
And
fast
people
IDOT
will
works.
run-
Yep.
Yeah.
Look at the
not-
stoplight.
yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Troy, can we get some clarifications on the SRA and looking at what it takes to maintain the FAU, and then we'll also need some numbers on estimated maintenance costs and a list of all the different kinds of maintenance that may be necessary there.
Mhm.
So we know what's going in.
Okay.
Does that sound reasonable?
Good news is they just paved it for us not too long ago.
When was that done?
3 years ago?
We're paying, from what I understand, it's good for about
Right,
15
isn't it?
years.
Was it just a resurfacing or
It was just
Yeah,
no, it was a
it's a
grind, yeah.
Grind
It
it.
was a grind.
But yeah,
About 15
It was not a
years.
reconstruction.
No.
it was not a reconstruction.
Okay. Other questions? Other topics?
New message board in the village looks nice.
Oh, thank you.
Well done.
Thank you. Decided to
I don't-
put that out. It was a suggestion from people inside staff.
Keeps me from walking up the stairs. I appreciate it.
Can, but no, we don't get to see.
So that was the
No,
intent.
the other part of
I
it
got
is, it just, it makes it a lot easier for folks to see that
Yes.
there's what's posted, so. And, all right, good, thank you. If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the March 23rd Village of Peotone Board meeting.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by trustee Hupkey, seconded by trustee Forsythe, to adjourn the March 23rd, 2015 Village of Peotone Board meeting. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Hupkey.
Yes.
Mr. Forsythe.
Yes.
Mr. Callahan.
Yes.
Mr. Hack.
Yes.
Mr. Wicker.
Yes.
And Mr. Rice.
Motion carries, we're officially adjourned.